This is Tammy on the DFDS Ferry from Newcastle to Amsterdam. We're testing out what it's like to take a campervan on the ferry to Holland and Belgium for our holidays. The great thing about the ferry trip from Newcastle is it cuts out a 300-mile drive to Dover. It's straight from the bottom of our street to the port, and you're slap bang in Amsterdam the next morning. There's no waiting around at airports, and once you're on the car deck, it's the start of a complete adventure. But Tammy's top tip is don't forget where you've put the campervan. It's easy to get confused, so make a note for the next morning. Once on board, it's a great feeling cruising down the River Tyne, looking at the sights. But first, let's find our cabin. We've booked a standard class with no views and 2 bunk beds. At just over £400 for a couple, will it be big enough? And this is the cabin. It's the standard version. It's not quite as plush as Brittany Ferries when we went from Harwich to Denmark. It's a little bit on the cramped side, but just as well I'm a small person. But it's fine, you know, we're only going to be sleeping in here. Bit of a scary picture of a man with a beret on the wall. And here's the bathroom. Ooh, actually it's rather good. Jolly nice bathroom too. On a sunny day, it's really nice, and even the sky bar on the top deck is fairly sheltered. Going across the North Sea, it really needs to be. After all, this isn't a Caribbean cruise. This is one of the reasons we love the ferry. It's relaxing, nobody has to drive, and it feels like a fun start to the holiday. With all that sea air, you soon get an appetite, so it's time to eat. We've chosen to go upmarket in the Blue Ribbon restaurant. It's not super cheap. We paid about €30 each for a 3-course meal, but the food was excellent, even if the wine was a little expensive. The duck salad was spot on for me, and the fillet steak was the star of the show, simply delicious. There's a choice of entertainment on board, but we opted to check out the main nightclub. The MC, who reminded me of a comic, Gary Barlow, turned out to be very engaging. The band were a bit cheesy, but got these folk up dancing. Not sure about the onesies though. Elsewhere on board there's bingo. Even though it's not for me, I overheard one hen party getting very excited about it. And if that's not your guilty pleasure, there's a cinema and games rooms full of slot machines. But the best experience is simply being out on deck as the sun comes down. We were lucky it was a really calm trip, and I have to say I'm always a bit nervous that it'll get a little bit bumpy. The idea of using one of these terrifies me. Next morning it's time to squeeze in some shopping. As well as the standard duty-free goods, they are obsessed with chocolates, including, for some reason, giant Toblerones. Although I have to admit I did buy one, and I've always had a weakness for liqueur chocolates. I just can't resist. As an experience, the Newcastle-Amsterdam ferry trip is a fun ride. We saw little evidence of the booze cruise mentality, and it's always easy to escape to a quiet spot out on deck. This type of cruise feels like you've really travelled somewhere when you arrive. We'll definitely be doing it again.